have I got a treat for you guys today. We're going to explore one heck of a classic. A movie about the greatest police detective of all time. A hero that is peak man, whom all us other mere mortals strive to be like. A true legend of our times. Yep, today I'm talking about none other than Frank Drebin. So of course today we're going to explore this Naked Gun box set of 3 movies. By just looking at the first movie. Trust me, it'll all make sense soon enough. I've done this plenty of times, yeah. It was in 1988 when Leslie Nielsen crash-landed on the big screen as the bumbling Lieutenant Frank Drebin, which left a generation of fans in hysterics with the Naked Gun from the files of Police Squad. Thanks to Nielsen's dry, no-nonsense approach, this slapstick comedy spoof has been regarded as comedy gold and a hallmark of its genre, where Drebin must save Queen Elizabeth from an assassination attempt by the sinister Vincent Ludwig, played devilishly by Ricardo Montalban, aka Khan from Star Trek, who also has sinister brainwashing abilities as well as a sinister drug operation. Wow, that's a lot of sinister. Where Frank falls in love with Ludwig's assistant Jane Spencer, played by Priscilla Presley, in which all manner of comedic chaos ensues, in this classic that has many memorable funny quotes and laugh out loud moments. So get ready to explore the funny side of the law as we look into 10 amazing facts about the Naked Gun. Let's check it out. I always say that.
Nice beaver.
Thank you. I just had it stuffed.
Let me help you with that.
Number 10. It was originally a TV show. The genesis of the Naked Gun starts with the comedy spoof movie Airplane, where Leslie Nielsen, who usually starred in more serious roles, did something of a game changer and starred as Dr. Rumrack in the oddball comedy. Not only was it a standout performance, but it would change the course of his career. As thanks to the success of Airplane, Nielsen then teamed up with the comedy team behind Airplane, Jerry Zucker, his brother David Zucker, and Jim Abrams, for a TV show called The Police Squad in 1982, where Nielsen played Detective Frank Drebin for the first time, injecting his flawless comedy timing while keeping a dry, serious face. Although people often look back at Police Squad fondly as being a stroke of comedy genius, with it even being nominated for 2 Emmys, at the time of its broadcast it was cancelled just after 4 episodes. The reason being that it was felt that it was a type of humour that required the viewer to pay attention closely in order to catch the gags. Simpsons creator Matt Groening was a huge fan of the show, and said had it been broadcast just 10 years later then it would have been a smash. So could it be that Police Squad was just ahead of its time? Either way, for whatever reason, the powers that be didn't want the audience to be paying too much attention, but rather have the comedy hand delivered to them up front with ease. However, Nielsen, the Zuckers, and Abrams clearly believed in Police Squad, as 6 years later they decided to make a movie version. Number 9. Another police comedy caused a title change. The Naked Gun movie was originally going to use its TV show counterpart's namesake, and was originally intended to just be called Police Squad. However, Paramount Pictures were worried that it sounded too similar to another popular police comedy, Police Academy. The first Police Academy movie was released in 1984, to which a series of sequels followed and proved to be popular among filmgoers. In fact, the very year Naked Gun came out, Police Academy 5 Assignment Miami Beach also came out, so I can understand the reluctance of calling the movie Police Squad. The movie's production was given 20 possible alternative titles. The title that stood out the most was Naked Gun, not to be confused with the 1956 Western also called Naked Gun. Co-writer Jerry Zucker claims that Naked Gun was chosen as the name was so epic, it offered way more than the movie could deliver, which in turn was a funny gag itself. Although technically the movie was called The Naked Gun from the Files of Police Squad, but often I find that it's just simply called The Naked Gun. Number 8. The shoot could be painful. Although on screen Naked Gun is full of laughs, actually filming the movie could often be no laughing matter, as filming scenes could often take up to 40 takes, enough to make Stanley Kubrick blush. So why did the otherwise simple fun movie require so many takes? Well, because despite making a comedy, Jerry and David Zucker and Jim Abrams were perfectionists of their craft and wanted to make sure that the comedy being delivered was perfect, and felt that 40 takes were required so they can choose the take that they felt had the most comedic value. Supposedly, actor George Kennedy, who played Captain Ed Hocken, really was not a fan of this 40-take work schedule. They often say that comedy has to feel organic and to not be forced. But Naked Gun kind of proves that comedy can be a fine craft, which takes a lot of work to perfect. Number 7. Lack of comedy equals comedy. In Naked Gun, Priscilla Presley plays the love interest Jane Spencer. Yet before Naked Gun, she was mainly known as being the former wife to Elvis Presley. And after Naked Gun, is still mainly known as the former wife to Elvis Presley. But regardless, Bo Derek was actually the original choice for the role. Which makes sense, as at the time she starred in several comedy movies, such as 10. However, it was decided to cast Presley in the role because she had no prior experience to comedy. The Zuckers and Abrams felt that because her public persona wasn't attached to comedy, that itself would be quite funny. So yeah, I can see where they were coming from, and it does work. I guess sometimes seeking comedy value in something or someone that is the opposite of conventional comedy can itself be quite funny. Number 6. The enthusiasms of Weird Al. During the 80s, Weird Al Yankovic had become a comedy sensation thanks to his comical versions of pop songs like Eat It and Like a Surgeon. Yankovic was also a massive fan of the Police Squad TV series, and when it got back to Naked Gun's production what a fan of the show he was, a light bulb moment happened, where it was decided to write him into the movie. Really, Weird Al with his style of humour seems perfect for Naked Gun, with the two going arm in arm, and Weird Al said that he would have been happy to have just been a background extra in the movie, but his dreams came true when he got his own scene. It was also reported that Weird Al would often take dates to see the Naked Gun at movie theatres when it came out, without telling them that he was in the movie, only to see them flip out when he showed up on screen. Classic Weird Al. In fact, Naked Gun has plenty of cameos, including the Zuckers' real-life mum, Charlotte Zucker, who played the secretary of Lugwid. She also had a cameo in the movie Ghost, which was also directed by Jerry Zucker. Number 5. Mel Brooks lent a hand. Without a doubt, Mel Brooks is the king of slapstick comedy spoof movies, having given us many timeless classics over the years such as Young Frankenstein, Blazing Saddles and Spaceballs, which came out the same year as Naked Gun. So given his style of humour, it makes sense that he would have been interested in Naked Gun, so much so he briefly lent his services to the movie, as the famous scene where Frank is on a baseball field and gets hit in the head by a baseball bat was a gag created by Brooks, with the comedy maestro creating one of the most standout scenes in the movie. I guess if you're making a movie and Mel Brooks comes along and says add this gag in, then you add in that gag. I guess he was able to take time out from Spaceballs to visit the set of the Naked Gun. And of course Brooks and Nielsen would go on to work together in Dracula, Dead and Loving It. Number 4. The production needed an A-lister. Despite the fact that Leslie Nielsen already had acclaim thanks to starring in Airplane and for being nominated for an Emmy for the Police Squad TV show, the production still felt the need to incorporate an Academy Award winner into the movie, I guess to give it clout. So the production turned to George Kennedy, who won an Academy Award in 1968 for Best Supporting Actor in the movie Cool Hand Luke, where he was cast as Captain Ed Hocken. Kennedy was already friends with the Zuckers and Abrams, and was even offered a role in the movie Airplane but had to turn it down due to other work commitments, so that part went to Lloyd Bridges. But Kennedy had since regretted passing on starring in Airplane, so Naked Gun was kind of a nice way to right that wrong. Speaking of big-name actors, Ricardo Montalban was cast as the movie's main villain, Vincent Lugwid, because the production was impressed with his performance of Khan in Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. And Star Trek II and The Naked Gun were both produced by Paramount Pictures, so he was probably a handy go-to guy for the studio. Then there's O.J. Simpson, who played the hapless, accident-prone Officer Nordberg, and given what may or may not have happened in O.J.'s real life, well, Yeah, this is awkward. Number 3, video game. There actually was a video game made of Naked Gun called Naked Gun ICUP. Well played, game. I see what you did there. It was a downloadable game for iPhones and iPads and was of a point-and-click format, with it being labelled as a spoof of modern action games. The Frank Drebin character was voiced by AJ Locascio, who incidentally also voiced Marty McFly in the Back to the Future video game. The game received mixed reviews and has somewhat fallen into obscurity. I mean, I never hear about people talking about it, and I didn't even know about this game till making this episode. And as I've never played it, I can't really say anything more about it. But if you're a fan of the Naked Gun movies and need some kind of continuation, then check out the game and let me know if it's any good, because I don't know anything about it. Number 2, alternative movie titles. So in order to promote and market the Naked Gun in other countries around the world, certain tweaks and changes would be made to the title in order to promote the movie in other countries. For example, in Japan, the movie was retitled to Man with Naked Gun. So yeah, not too different, still same idea, just a little bit of a tweak made. In Thailand, the movie was translated to Climb Nude, where thankfully you can see that's not the case, as Leslie Nielsen does have his pants on. However, this is a very fascinating poster, as unlike all other Naked Gun movie posters, this one shows Frank Drebin not riding on a bullet, but on an actual gun. Once again, making this quite unique. That and one of the movie stars is shown to be a mystery, who by other posters is actually the Queen. The Spanish poster translates to grab it as you can. Okay, I don't get it, but sure, grab it as you can, I guess. And finally, the one I find to be the most fascinating. The French title of the movie was, Is There a Cop to Save the Queen? Yeah, so wonderfully random. Incidentally, the alternative French title for Naked Gun 2.5 was Is There a Cop to Save the President? And the third entry was retitled to Is There a Cop to Save Hollywood? So in France, when they want to have a Naked Gun movie marathon, they don't say, hey, do you want to watch La Naked Gun movies? They'll be saying, hey, let's watch those Is There a Cop to Save movies. Number 1, Naked release. The Naked Gun from the Files of Police Squad was released in December 1988, just in time for Christmas, with it bringing in $140 million on a $12 million budget, making it a successful hit. For its first week of its release, it was in the number 1 spot in the box office. However, in its second week, it was knocked off to the number 2 spot by fellow comedy movie Twins. Naked Gun received critical acclaim from both audiences and critics, with them both celebrating the joy of laughing. Roger Ebert stated it's the kind of movie that makes you laugh, and then you laugh at yourself for laughing. It is often considered one of the greatest comedy movies of all time, with it being voted 14th by UK's Channel 4 and 7th by Empire magazine. Naked Gun shows us what slapstick movies can be and the potential they can reach when done right. In later years, the spoof genre started to fizzle out thanks to lazy and not up to par attempts. And the genre is currently frozen in time, with it not being popular with movie studios at the moment. But more importantly, Naked Gun shows us that it's okay to be childish and to laugh. It's very healthy and important, and I think that given the current state of the world, we could all do with a good laugh right now. I think it's time for this genre of oddball slapstick comedy spoofs to make a comeback. As long as it's made with the right amount of care and attention, it could work, and even be seen as a respectable genre in the industry, and not something to look down upon like it kind of is now. And if and when the genre does come back, I hope the Naked Gun is used as a template of how to do it. Anyway, I'm Minty, and you know that scene where the characters are having to use full body protection? Yeah, suddenly in 2020, that doesn't seem too far-fetched anymore. See ya!